you had a chance to check out much tape on Jake Garcia?
Yes, I have.
And what are your impressions?
I think that the young man does need a red shirt. I think if we can keep this system that we have, he will flourish. He's a little high on some of his balls, and his wide receivers do have to make adjustments. The other thing that I don't know is maybe this back shoulder fade is a big thing that people love to do nowadays. Get that corner turned around, and then the receiver just looks at the ball and tries to figure out how he's going to adjust to the ball in the air. So for all we know, maybe because if you watch his highlight tape, Mark, it's like almost every throw is kind of a back shoulder type of throw, and his wide receivers have to adjust to the ball in the air. So it could be how that offensive coordinator has him rolling. He's a young man that he's kind of dropped down a little bit. I think he was the number one QB for a while this time last year. When he came to Paradise Camp, either he was number one or he was big time. But he's a borderline 5-star. He is the highest rated QB since Marv, way back in 2007, 6, somewhere in there. When we signed him, I forgot. Marv ended up transferring to Purdue. He was somewhere in there. But
I remember him.
What was his? That was last name was Marv.
Yeah.
I'm all with names today. I'm usually pretty damn
Marve. I remember him. Yeah, Purdue, Miami. He might have went somewhere else.
I know he transferred out of here. Somebody in the chat will fix it. But, at the end of the day, we're doing pretty good.
Robert Marv.
Is it Robert Marv? Yes, Robert.
I think so.
Yes, Robert Marv, yeah. Since 2003, 4-ish, he's the highest rated QB.
I started to go through the 247 Sports composite for those players that had not signed on the early signing day to see who was still available. There's a guy that's being talked about quite a bit in the live chat by the name of course, T2, Terrence Lewis. The lean on 247 Sports right now is Auburn. He's the 16th rated player in the country, regardless of position. Number one inside linebacker, top player out of Florida, top 5 player who obviously committed to Tennessee. And it's not necessarily that Tennessee's out of the mix. He's just opened up his recruitment.
You know what, Mark, it is that Tennessee and Auburn are out of the mix. So there's a investigation going on in Tennessee. I don't want to speak on something I don't know much about, but supposedly there's this investigation in Tennessee. The NCAA is kind of, in talks with them there. So basically it is a 3-way battle between Auburn, Maryland, and Miami. This is based on my knowledge at this time, okay? Auburn just fired Coach Gus Malzahn. So initially, he had cut them out, and it was between Maryland and Miami. Supposedly, the University of Miami is not actively recruiting T2. So I'm trying to be very careful where I go with this. So I don't know where he's going to pick. Would I take him at Miami? In a heartbeat. He is who you would need in a 4-2-5. Big enough to stop the run and take on blocks and shoot gaps if he has to, but can also drop back and cover. Better than we've seen in years here. Even like Sean Spence kind of cover. And that's like 10 years ago. Okay, because even Denzel Perryman couldn't really tackle. He could tackle, can't really cover. Shaq Quarterman couldn't cover me or you, Mark. So it would be a big-time jump in athleticism at the linebacker position and a true linebacker, not a defensive end who just happens to be 6'1", who you don't trust because you don't know that he can just go get the QB, okay, not move to linebacker. Not a big dude and, like a Patrick Joyner type who's 6'2.5", 6'3", and he's a tweener, and you just don't know where you want to put him. No, this is a true freaking linebacker. He probably puts salt and pepper and a hot sauce on his cake. Okay, this is a true head hunter. This is what you need at linebacker. But it may be a little bit off with the whole off-the-field issues. But I, for one, like I spoke about on my channel, I don't like to bring that type of stuff up, Mark, because we don't know if it's true. Whether the story was told to me, told to anyone else out there, I would be disrespecting the good name that I have built as a good human being to come speak on something I don't know regarding another young man and his life. I can't speak on it. I don't know. What I will tell you is that I would love to have him a part of this recruiting class. And I think he could be a big step forward as far as Coach Manny Diaz and this recruiting staff being able to say, look, we can turn you into that or better than that, you know, because at this point, Mr. Rubicon brings up a great point on our channel all the time on my channel. He talks about the fact that this staff thought that Jaquan Johnson was the best safety they had ever seen. Then Bubba Bolden walks in. Okay. They thought that John Garvin and Joe Jackson were some of the best defensive ends they ever seen. Then Greg Rousseau and Jalen Phillips and Quincy Roche walks in. Because this staff is growing before our eyes. So now they're like, oh, okay, so instead of, I don't want a Shaq Quarterman, I want a T2. I wouldn't mind a Jaquan Johnson. I want a Bubba Bolden, though. You know, so there's a big step. Or James Williams. You know, like, yeah, Cam Kinchins is more of the ilk of Jaquan Johnson. A solid athlete, but an elite leader. And you want him on your team. But on the other end of things, there's that big-time athlete that can be hit or miss, but when he comes downhill and hits, it's going to be big time. That's your Bubba Bolden. That's your James Williams. So his staff is growing before our eyes and learning on the job. So T2, if you ever just so happen to come across this, I would love if you pick the U. If you don't, go have a great career wherever you are. No hard feelings, brother.
I got a smirk on my face when you mentioned Shaq Quarterman, just because you don't have to be a football coach and you don't have to watch him for too long. And he was a tremendous player for what he did well. Mm-hmm. But all you have to do is watch him for, you know, a series of plays, and you see, man, this guy, he would have been a terror. He would have been a Pro Bowler at the next level about 35 years ago. And like if it was 1985, then he's your guy. He's your middle linebacker.
Good God, Mark.
Well, I'm just saying that's not a knock on. That's just the style of play. A run-heavy league would have fit him perfectly.
Mark, good God, I would have at least given him 15 years. I think he could have played, with the Ray Lewises and right before the Bilmas and the Beesons came in. You know, give him mid-90s.
I was thinking Mike Singletary
30 years ago. Yeah, you're right. I'm getting up there, man.